Tonight's 8 players are preparing for the show where just one of them will be taking home the prize money of up to £20,000. The rest will leave with nothing, as their teammates vote them the weakest link.
Welcome to the weakest link. Any of the 8 people in the studio here this evening could win up to £20,000. They don't know each other, however. If they want the prize money, they'll have to work as a team. But 7 of them will leave with nothing, as round by round we lose the player, voted the weakest link. Let's meet the team.
I'm Graham, I'm 43, unemployed, and I live near Cambridge.
I'm Emma, I'm 24, and I'm a pub manager from Eastbourne.
I'm Glenn, I'm 65, I'm a retired charter surveyor from Hull.
I'm Jan, I'm 35, I have an introduction company in Winchester.
I'm Sander, I'm 28, and I'm a cartoonist from London.
I'm Doreen, I'm 64, I'm a retired guest house owner from Brampton in Cumbria.
I'm Gary, I'm 39, I'm a cameraman from Worthing in West Sussex.
I'm Patricia, I'm 45, I'm a dentist from Downpatrick in County Down.
Now, the rules: in each round, the aim is to answer enough questions correctly to reach your £2,500 target within the time limit. The fastest way to reach your target is to create a chain of 8 correct answers. Get your question wrong and you break the chain and lose all the money in that chain. But if you say bank before the question is asked, the money is safe. However, you start a new chain from scratch. Remember, at the end of the round, only money that has been banked can be taken forward. In round 1, there are 2.5 minutes on the clock. We'll start with the person whose name is first alphabetically. That's you, Doreen. Let's play the weakest link. And the first question is for £50. Start the clock. Doreen, in the television sitcom Sharon and Tracy are birds of a what?
Feather.
Correct, Gary. According to the proverb, every what has a silver lining?
Cloud.
Correct, Patricia. In which famous board game are there 40 rectangles representing properties, railways, utilities, a jail and other items?
Monopoly.
Correct. Graham, in humans, what name is given to the loud noise during sleep caused by vibration of the soft palate?
Snoring.
Correct, Emma.
Bank.
Which fruit is traditionally used to produce cider?
Apples.
Correct, Glenn. With which sport would you associate Pete Sampras?
Tennis.
Correct, Jan. In fashion, what M is a cylindrical accessory for keeping the hands warm?
Muff.
Correct, Sander. According to superstition, breaking what is said to bring 7 years bad luck?
Mirror.
Correct, Doreen. In which pastime would you use flies, plugs, spinners and spoons?
Fishing.
Angling, I'll accept fishing. Gary.
Bank.
The tale of Little Red Cap by the Brothers Grimm became better known by what name?
Pass.
Little Red Riding Hood. Patricia. What mode of air transport was pioneered in the 18th century by the Montgolfier brothers?
Zeppelin.
Hot air ballooning. Graham, which talking scarecrow was the best-known creation of Barbara Ufan Todd?
Wuzzlegummidge.
Correct, Emma. In music, which quiff-haired pop star originally had a hit with Come On Everybody in the 1950s? Cliff Richard or Eddie Cochran?
Eddie Cochran.
Correct, Glenn. What F is a style of dance sometimes performed with castanets?
Fandango.
Flamenco. Jan, in food, what term is applied to those who consume no foods of animal origin, including dairy products and eggs?
Vegan.
Correct. Sander, is a chub an animal or a plant?
Animal.
Correct. Doreen, in humans, what name is given to the effect of a sudden switch of time zones in air travel?
Pass.
Jet lag. Gary, which cartoon dog is friends with Fred, Daphne, Velma and Shaggy and has a nephew called Scrappy?
Scooby-Doo.
Correct. Patricia, in theatre, what S is the term used for the scenery and surroundings on the stage?
The set.
Correct. Graham, in 19th century fashion, where did women wear a bustle, around the neck or waist?
The waist.
Correct, Emma.
Bank.
Which actor says the line, I'll be back in the 1984 film The Terminator?
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Correct, Glenn. In London, is Waterloo Station north or south of the Thames?
South of the Thames.
Correct, Jan. From which musical comes the lyric, Time is up. I cannot complete the question. And in that first round, you only answered 4 questions incorrectly, and you put £1,700 in the bank out of a possible 2,500. The question is, who's out of their league? Who already are you worried about? Whose knowledge is probably better suited to watching television, not appearing on it? I urge you, ditch the ditherer, sling the slow coach. It's time to vote off the weakest link.
Having answered all of her questions correctly and banked money for the team, Emma is the strongest link in this first round. Statistically, the weakest link is Glenn. But so early in the game, how will the voting go?
OK, voting over, it's time to reveal who you think is the weakest link.
Doreen.
Gary.
Doreen.
Gary.
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 Glenn.
Jan.
How's it going for you, Emma?
Okay.
Oh, is it? Why Gary?
It was hard. I think everyone had a pretty good round there, but I just remember him getting one question wrong.
Right. You won't be getting any questions wrong.
I didn't get any wrong that round.
No, plenty of time. Sandra, what do you do?
Cartoonist.
Are you? Is that an example of your work we're seeing there?
Yeah, it's a little on the Dada side, but yeah, that's me.
Dada, right. Why Gary?
He's the only one that I remember getting a question wrong.
Right. The tragic thing, Gary, is that statistically, you were not the weakest link. Was he, Glenn?
Was I the weakest link?
No, I asked the question.
Oh, yes. I didn't realise I was the weakest link.
With 4 votes, Gary, the team have decided you are the weakest link. Goodbye.
I'm not very happy, really. I mean, at the end of the day, I did get the person who was the weakest link, which was Glenn. The next person I think to go, and it's not that I'm picking on him still, but I think it is Glenn. I think that Glenn's a little bit nervous.
Right, team. So far you have £1,700 out of a possible £2,500. There are 7 of you left. We are now taking 10 seconds off the clock. We'll start with the strongest link from the last round. That's Emma. Let's play the weakest link. Start the clock. Emma, in the animal kingdom, what type of creature is a kite?
It's a bird.
Correct, Glenn. Which feline cartoon character appeared on the titles of the Inspector Clouseau films?
Pink cat.
The Pink Panther, Jan. Which British crime novelist wrote Murder at the Vicarage and Murder in Mesopotamia?
Pass.
Agatha Christie. Sander. Macadamia and almond are types of what?
Nut.
Correct. Doreen. If on a supermarket shelf there are 12 boxes of eggs with a dozen in each box, how many eggs are on the shelf?
144.
Correct. Patricia. Which member of the comedy duo Fry and Laurie rewrote the West End and Broadway musical Me and My Girl?
Stephen Fry.
Correct. Graham. In fashion, the floppy rubber-soled sandals are often worn on the beach and known as flip what?
Flops.
Correct, Emma. Bank. In the UK, which town is known as the gateway to the lakes and is famous for its mint cake?
Kendall.
Correct. Glenn. What pea is a large farm or estate handling the commercial production of a crop?
Sorry, would you repeat that? P.
What pea is a large farm or estate handling the commercial production of a crop?
Plantation.
Correct. Jan. Which fruit is generally bigger, a kumquat or a clementine?
Clementine.
Correct. Sander. In pop music, what was the surname of Janis, the famous American rock singer born in Texas in 1943?
Joplin.
Correct. Doreen.
Bank.
In the animal kingdom, what sea is a type of Australian parrot, usually with grey or yellow plumage, yellow cheeks and a crest?
Cockatoo.
Correct. Patricia. A black Russian cocktail is made with 1 part coffee liqueur and 2 parts of what spirit?
Vodka.
Correct. Graham. Which TV presenter set up the charity Childline in 1986?
Esther Rantzen.
Correct. Emma. In astrology, the star sign Pisces is represented by what animal?
Fish.
Correct. Glenn.
Bank.
In science, charcoal is a form of what element?
Carbon.
Correct. Jan. Which long-running TV programme about antiques has been presented by Hugh Scully and Michael Aspel?
Antiques Roadshow.
Correct, Sander. In language, for what does the abbreviation VIP stand?
Very important person.
Correct, Doreen.
Bank.
In the USA, the name of which district within the city of Los Angeles is synonymous with the American motion picture industry?
Hollywood.
Correct, Patricia. In art, what is a method of engraving in which the design is bitten into the plate with acid?
Etching.
That is the correct answer, but you were out of time. And in that round, you only answered 2 questions incorrectly, but again, you only banked £1,700 and therefore again missed your 2,500 target. Let me remind you, he who stumbles does not deserve to survive. She who hesitates is better elsewhere. Forget charity, you must be ruthless to be rich. It's time to vote off the weakest link.
With 3 correct answers and £700 banked for the team, Doreen is the strongest link. The weakest link is Jan, but who will lose out when it comes to the vote?
Voting over. It's time to reveal who you think is the weakest link.
Glenn.
Glenn.
Doreen.
Glenn.
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 Graham, how's it going for you?
Not too bad at the moment.
Oh, really? And what's Glenn done to upset you?
Well, he was very hesitant in that round, and I remembered the previous round he was the weakest link. And I know he's also a part-time Father Christmas, and I was concerned he was going to be far too charitable and give too much away.
Of course, statistically, Glenn wasn't the worst player, was he, Jan?
Wasn't he?
No. Who do you think was the worst player?
Well, I'm not too sure, Anne. No.
Right. Well, it was you, Jan. Glenn, as you're a part-time Father Christmas, you're probably not at your best by this time of the year.
Quite so.
So we are sending you back to Lapland or wherever you live. With 6 votes, you are the weakest link. Goodbye.
I felt a little hurt about being voted off because I knew I had banked a goodly sum of money. I knew I'd made a bit of a peek over the questions, but I thought that might have saved me.
Team, so far you've bagged £3,400 out of a possible £5,000. You're down to 6 players. We're taking another 10 seconds off the clock. We start with the strongest link from the last round. That's Doreen. Let's play the weakest link. Start the clock. Doreen, by what first name was the actress Dame Edith Margaret Emily Ashcroft usually known?
Evans.
Peggy. Patricia, which American rock group had hits in the 1970s, including Lion Eyes and Hotel California?
The Eagles.
Correct. Graham, in geography, what eye is the supply of water to the land by means of channels, streams and sprinklers?
Irrigation.
Correct. Emma, what sort of cards include the Hermit and the Hanged Man?
Tarot.
Correct. Jan, Morecambe and Wise ended their TV shows with the song Bring Me What?
Sunshine.
Correct.
Bank.
Sander, which cricketer nicknamed Beefy captained England in 1980 and 1981?
Botham. Ian Botham.
Correct, Ian Botham. Doreen, published in book form in 1883, what's the title of Robert Louis Stevenson's children's story about pirates?
Kidnapped.
Treasure Island. Patricia, in nature, what part of the flower structure attracts insects and guides them towards the stigma and anther?
The stamen.
Petals. Graham, in biology, when a muscle contracts, does it get longer or shorter?
Shorter.
Correct. Emma, in money, what is the highest value note in circulation in Germany? The 100 or 1000 Deutschmark note?
1000 Deutschmark.
Correct. Jan, is the folk song Greensleeves mentioned in Shakespeare's Macbeth or the Merry Wives of Windsor?
Mary Wise of Windsor.
Correct.
Bank.
Sander, what are non-working male bees called?
Pardon, can you say
What
that again?
are non-working male bees called?
Soldiers.
Drone. Doreen, in food, what pea is the natural outer covering that houses seeds like beans, lentils and peas?
Pulse.
Pod. Patricia, in history, which Walter was an adventurer and writer who was prominent at the court of Elizabeth I?
Walter Raleigh.
Correct. Graham, in which series of children's books by Enid Blyton would you find George and Timmy?
Pass.
The famous 5. Emma, In the animal kingdom, Belgium, Clydesdale and Percheron are all breeds of which mammal?
Cattle.
Horse. Jan. On TV, what was the name of the 1970s comedy trio that consisted of Tim Brooke, Taylor, Graham Garden and Bill Oddie?
Pass.
The Goodies. Time is up. And in that round, team, you banked a pitiful £700. Who really is too slow to stay? Sack the culprit, ditch the dimwit. One of you is about to leave with nothing. It's time to vote off the weakest link.
For the second time in the game, Emma is the strongest link. Doreen has gone from being the strongest link in the last round to this round's weakest link. But can her previous success save her from the vote?
Voting over, it's time to reveal who you think is the weakest link.
Doreen.
Doreen. Doreen.
Jan.
Jan.
Doreen.
Patricia, not one of your finest rounds.
Wasn't one of my worst rounds either.
No. What's Doreen done to upset you?
Well, she was more unfortunate than I was with her questions and got one more wrong than I did.
Right. Graham,
Yes.
got any qualifications?
Yes.
Share them with us.
I've got a bachelor's degree in biology
Right.
and a teaching certificate and a master's degree in business administration.
And you've never heard of Enid Blyton?
She wasn't one of the recommended texts on my courses.
What's Doreen done that you don't like?
I think she was very unfortunate, but I remember she got a couple of questions wrong and we needed to get some more money into the bank.
Right. Doreen, I think you went back to Cumbria during that round, didn't you?
Well, at my age, I am entitled to senior moments, Anne.
Right. Well, senior moments we can do without. With 4 votes, you are the weakest link.
I would say my performance at this time was just about average. I'm quite pleased that I managed to survive 2 rounds, and the second one I was the strongest link. I think Jan will be voted off next because her general knowledge is perhaps not as good, and I think she's also had some harder questions than, for example, Graham.
Team, you could have won £7,500 by now. You have just £4,100 in the bank. There are 5 of you left. We are taking another 10 seconds off the clock. You now have only 2 minutes. We'll start with the strongest link from the last round. That's Emma. Let's play the weakest link. Start the clock. Emma, which Californian pop band first recorded the song Barbara Ann in 1966?
The Beach Boys.
Correct, Jan. Which sport would you be watching if you saw the Baltimore Ravens play the Carolina Panthers?
Basketball.
American football. Sander, what D is the name given to ancient Celtic priests and scholars?
Druids.
Correct. Patricia, the kangaroo and which bird are on the Australian coat of arms?
The wallaby.
The emu. Graham, in geography, is Mount Fuji in Japan or Taiwan?
Japan.
Correct. Emma, in physics, what Q is the modern theory of subatomic particles?
Quantum.
Correct. Jan, in 1981, François Mitterrand became president of which country?
France.
Correct. Sander,
Bank.
with which sport would you associate Dennis Wise?
Football.
Correct. Patricia, the Royal Albert Hall in London was completed in which century, the 18th or 19th?
18th.
19th. Graham, in medicine, which part of the body is a gastroscope used to examine?
The stomach.
Correct, Emma. In the animal kingdom, frogs and which other amphibians are known as arnorans?
Toads.
Correct, Jan. The 24th of February 2000 was the 3rd anniversary of the announcement of the birth of which special sheep?
Dolly.
Correct, Sander.
Bang.
In botany, bladder wrack, dulse and kelp are all types of which plant?
Tree.
Seaweed. Patricia, in geography, is Vilnius the capital of Lithuania or Macedonia?
Lithuania.
Graham, in which 1998 movie did footballer Vinnie Jones make his film debut?
Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels.
Correct, Emma.
Bank.
In which well-known musical would you hear the songs I Could Have Danced All Night and On the Street Where You Live?
Pass.
My Fair Lady. Jan, which London art gallery houses the Hay Wain by Constable?
Tate.
The National Gallery. Sander, on the World Wide Web, which country does the JP domain represent? Time's up. The correct answer to that is Japan. And in that round, team, you scraped together only £500. Who now very clearly has outstayed their welcome? Who is too stupid to stay? It's time to vote off the weakest link.
The only player to answer all of his questions correctly was Graham, so he is the strongest link. With more wrong than right answers, Patricia is the weakest link. But will the votes follow the facts?
Voting over, it's time to reveal who you think is the weakest link.
Patricia.
Jan.
Patricia.
Jan.
Sander.
We have a tie. Patricia and Jan, 2 votes each. Jan, what happened to you in that round?
I think just like the draw, really, the questions. I was doing rather well, and then suddenly I had one that I didn't
know the answer to, and then another you didn't know the answer to. Why Patricia?
She also got a couple of questions wrong as well, so I remember that.
Right. Patricia, 2 people want you off. Do you think it's your warm, cheerful personality they've had enough of?
I don't think that has anything to do with it, Anne. I was very unlucky with the questions I got.
Right. When the vote is tied, the strongest link has to cast the deciding vote. And Graham, astonishing though it may seem, you were the strongest link in the last round because we didn't have any Enid Blyton questions. Now, you can change your mind if you wish. Jan, of course, was not statistically the weakest link. Was she, Patricia?
Probably not.
Who do we think was the weakest link, Patricia?
I don't like to dwell upon it.
Right. Who do you want to get rid of?
Well, she's been a pleasure to be with all day, but unfortunately, I'll stick with Patricia.
Right. Patricia, you have delighted us for long enough. You are the weakest link. Back.
I'm very disappointed to be voted off, although the question that really sank me, I sit at home and laugh at people doing the same thing. I was asked what bird was on the flag of Australia, and I said a wallaby, which is the same family of animals as the kangaroo. I think that Jan or Sander will be voted off next, but certainly, I mean, Graham deserves to be voted off for voting me off.
Your total so far is £4,600. If you'd hit your target, it would be £10,000. So we are hardly fainting with admiration. 4 players left, another 10 seconds coming off the time. We start with the strongest link from the last round. That's Graham. Let's play the weakest link. Start the clock. Graham, which former American model starred in the British film 4 Weddings and a Funeral?
Pass.
Andy McDowell. Emma. In science, casein is the main protein in which food source, milk or bread?
Milk.
Correct, Jan. What type of fabric fastening invented in 1957 uses tiny hooks sticking to tiny loops?
Hook and eye.
Velcro. Sander. The Austrian capital, Vienna, is situated on which river?
The Mersel.
The Danube. Graham. Which TV personality has made more appearances on the Royal Variety Show, Max Bygraves or Harry Enfield?
Max Bygraves.
Correct, Emma.
Bank.
Did Hawaii or Florida have its own monarch until 1893?
Florida.
Hawaii. Jan. In language, for what do the initials RP stand in Britain when meaning the usual speech of educated people?
Pass.
Received pronunciation. Sander. In the UK, Lime Street and James Street are railway stations situated in which northern city?
Liverpool.
Correct. Graham.
Bank.
In UK politics, which ex-Northern Ireland minister was appointed as Cabinet Office Minister in 1999?
Mandelson.
Mo Mowlam. Emma. In biology, demography is the study of what?
Skin.
Human populations. Jan. In pop music, which American singer's 1986 autobiography was subtitled The Godfather of Soul?
Pass.
James Brown. Sander. In America, what D is compulsory military service or conscription?
Duty.
Draft. Graham. In pop music, Jimmy Gulzar was married to which Spice Girl?
Scary Spice.
Mel B. I'll accept Scary Spice. Emma. In
Bank.
which British group of islands would you find Tresco and Bryar?
Shetland.
Scilly Isles. Jan, in politics, what do the letters EMU stand for? Time is up. The correct answer was European Monetary Union. And in that round, you only put into the kitty a miserable £150, who seriously is now costing you money. One of you is about to leave, deservedly with nothing. It's time to vote off the weakest link.
For the second successive round, Graham is the strongest player. The weakest player for the second time in the game is Jan. But can she survive the vote yet again?
Voting over, it's time to reveal who you think is the weakest link.
Jan.
Jan.
Sander.
Emma.
Emma, what do you do?
I'm a pub manager.
Are you? Right. Well, it mightn't come into your area of business, but it might be quite handy to know the difference between a dermatologist and demography, do you think? Because when they come round to do the census, you don't need to show them your private parts, you know. Why Jan?
I voted for her last time. I think she's been getting away with it by the skin of her teeth a little bit.
Jan, language, pop music, art, sport, literature. What an impressive array of subjects you know absolutely nothing about.
Just haven't touched on the ones that I know lots of.
Well, I'm afraid there'll be no opportunity to do so now because statistically all round, you are the weakest link. And with 2 votes, the team have had enough of you. Goodbye.
I think today I played probably as the questions went as well as I could have done. The particular questions I got, I thought I was a bit unlucky with quite a few of them. Now there's only 3 people left. I think possibly the 2 in the corner, Graham and Emma, are going to stick together and Sander's going to be left on his own.
£12,500 could have been yours by now, but you've banked just 4,750. 3 of you left, another 10 seconds off the clock. We start with the strongest link from the last round. That's Graham. Let's play the weakest link. Start the clock. Graham, in literature, who is the narrator of Charles Dickens' novel David Copperfield?
Pass.
David Copperfield. Emma, who became the first non-Italian pope for 455 years when he was elected in 1978?
Pope John Paul II.
Correct. Sander, with which other leader did Stalin in 1939 sign the Nazi-Soviet pact?
Lenin.
Hitler. Graham, followers of which religion fast during the month of Ramadan?
Muslim.
Islam, I'll accept Muslim. Emma,
Bank.
in the human body, what eye is the part of the small intestine where nutrients are absorbed?
Pass.
Ilium. Sander, what is the name given to the popular children's toy devised by Richard James in the 1940s, made up of several feet of flat wire coiled into circles?
Slinky.
Correct. Graham,
Pat.
which town is further north, Berwick upon Tweed in England or Dumfries in Scotland?
Berwick.
Correct. Emma, who was the US president during the Bay of Pigs invasion of Cuba?
Carter.
John F. Kennedy. Sander, in which country are the cities Trondheim and Oslo?
Norway.
Correct. Graham, in
Bank.
the UK, Chelmsford is the seat of local government in which county?
Essex.
Correct. Emma, is Artemis a figure in Greek or Roman mythology?
Greek.
Correct. Sander, in literature, what S is the surname of the French philosopher Jean-Paul, who in 1938 wrote Nausea?
Sartre.
Correct. Graham,
Bank.
in classical music, are wind players or string players concerned with the embouchure?
Wind players.
Correct. Emma,
Bank.
which essentially Jamaican religion associated with Marcus Garvey was named after Ethiopia's crown prince? Time is up, and after all that work, you banked just £400. Now, let me explain to you that in round 7, you get the chance to double what you bank, and that means in the next round, there's £5,000 potentially to be won. The question is, who is least likely to improve your fortune? Whose brain will stunt the bank balance rather than raise it? Heave the hopeless. It's time to vote off the weakest link.
The statistics show that Graham is the strongest player for the third time in the game. With the most incorrect answers, Emma has become this round's weakest link. But who will lose out in this final vote?
Voting over, it's time to reveal who you think is the weakest link.
Sander.
Sander.
Emma.
Graham. So, a bit of tactical voting going on here, I suspect.
Not at all.
Well, why Sander?
I can remember Sander getting more questions wrong in the last round than Emma, and he'd been close on my list on a couple of other occasions as well.
So memory isn't one of your specialist subjects either, is it?
Creative memory is.
Yeah. Because in fact, Sander was not statistically the weakest link.
Oh.
Was he, Emma?
Was he? I don't know.
No, I asked the questions, Emma.
I guess he wasn't then.
No. Who'd you guess was?
I guess it's me.
You guessed right. Why did you vote for Sander?
He voted for me last time and it was quite a tough call between him and Graham.
So, Sander, 2 votes, you are the weakest link. Goodbye.
Of course, a little bit gutted being voted off to the third to last, because I thought that if I perhaps got into the last 2, I'd have a good chance at the money. Being voted off in such a tactical manner naturally is gutting for me, but if I was in one of their position next to each other, I would probably have done the same.
£5,150 in the bank out of 15,000 you could have won by now. Graham and Emma, just the 2 of you left, and this time you have only 90 seconds. But whatever you win in this round will be doubled and added to your total to make up your final prize money. So, £5,000 is at stake in this round. We'll start with the strongest link from the last round, that's Graham. Let's play the weakest link. Start the clock. Graham, in geography, used to see refers to a worldwide change in the level of what?
The sea.
Correct, Emma.
Bang.
In Shakespeare's King Lear, what relation to Cordelia is Lear?
His daughter.
Correct, Graham.
Bank.
After Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, Paul Newman and Robert Redford starred together in which film about a couple of con men?
The Sting.
Correct, Emma.
Bang.
In science, what is the name given to electric power generated by moving water?
Turbo.
Hydroelectric power. Graham. In which European country was the monarchy restored in 1975 after a lapse of 44 years?
Holland.
Spain. Emma. In biology, are erythrocytes red or white blood cells?
White.
Red. Graham. Which 1970s science fiction TV series based on Martin Caidin's novel Cyborg starred Lee Majors as Colonel Steve Austin?
The $6 Million Man.
Correct, Emma.
Bank.
Which 20th century British Prime Minister said economics are the method, the object is to change the soul?
Thatcher.
Correct, Graham.
Bank.
In which Asian country was satin first made?
China.
Correct, Emma.
Bank.
In the story of David and Goliath, what was David's job before he killed Goliath, a shepherd or a fisherman?
Shepherd.
Correct, Graham.
Bank.
In human biology, where on an infant is the fontanelle?
On the head.
Correct, Emma.
Bank.
With which city in India was Mother Teresa most closely associated?
Calcutta.
Correct, Graham.
Bank.
In modern literature set in the Deep South. Time's up, I can't complete the question, and you didn't make it to £2,500. You banked £450. We'll double that and add it to the winnings from the previous rounds. That means total prize money this evening of £6,050. But of course, only one of you can take that money away. So Graham and Emma, you'll be playing against each other now, head to head. I'll ask alternate questions, best of 5. Whoever answers the most correctly wins. It's as simple as that. If there's a tie after 5, we'll go for sudden death until we have a winner. So, Graham and Emma, for £6,050, let's play the weakest link. Graham, as the strongest link in the last round, you have the choice of who goes first.
I'll go first.
Graham, what is the nickname used for the Queen in the satirical magazine Private Eye?
Mrs. Windsor.
The correct answer is Brenda. Emma, in TV, which BBC drama starring Gina McKee and Christopher Eccleston followed 4 Tyneside Friends from the early 60s through to the mid-90s?
Our Friends in the North.
That is the correct answer. Graham, in which German city could you visit the Checkpoint Charlie Museum?
Berlin.
That is the correct answer. Emma, how many strings are there on a standard classical guitar?
6.
That is the correct answer. Graham, in literature and folklore, which herb is a symbol of remembrance and fidelity?
Rosemary.
That is the correct answer. Emma, in modern British politics, who is nicknamed the Iron Chancellor?
Gordon Brown.
That is the correct answer. Graham, which of the British Armed Forces is known as the Senior Service?
The Navy.
The Royal Navy, I'll accept Navy. Emma, in which European capital city would you find the Cinecittà Film Studios?
Berlin.
The correct answer is Rome. Graham, what is the 7th colour of the rainbow?
Violet.
That is the correct answer. Emma, you need to answer this question correctly to remain in the game. A symbol of which religion consists of a star and a crescent moon?
Islam.
That is the correct answer. After 5 questions each, we have a tie. So now we go into a sudden death situation. The questions will continue in pairs. Graham, if you get your question correct, then Emma will have to answer hers correctly, or she will lose. And Graham, if you get your question wrong, then Emma will have to answer hers correctly to win. So, Graham and Emma, let's play sudden death. Graham, by what name is Leslie Towns Hope better known?
Bob Hope.
That is the correct answer. Emma, in history, Robert, King of Scotland, beat whose forces at the Battle of Bannockburn in 1314?
King John.
The correct answer is Edward II. That means, Graham, you are today's strongest link, and you go away with £6,050. Emma, you leave with nothing. Join us again for the weakest link. Goodbye.
I'm pleased that I put up a good fight in the final, because I think that there were some pretty tough questions.
I'm still stunned by the fact I've actually won through.
And at the end of the day, you win some, you lose some.
I didn't think I was the best player.
It is disappointing, I can't say it isn't.
I feel really sorry for Emma, who got a real nasty question for her last one.
Obviously, there was £6,000 there that I came so close to getting.